Hey guys, welcome to Mob of the Week. In today's episode, we're going to cover the second part of our two-part series on footwork. Now, last week we talked specifically about ankle sprains, and then in the last few minutes of that video, we talked about home remedies, strategies, and just different tactics to quickly and rapidly recover swollen joints, sprained ankles, and really some of the things that we talked about, that whole philosophy on recovery protocol can be applied for most injuries. So if you have something else going on, you might want to refer back to that video and see some of our tips and suggestions on how to rapidly recover when you roll an ankle or have anything else going on. Now, today we're going to talk about Achilles, tendinitis, heel cord pain, and then plantar fasciitis, those spurs and pains and that ice pick feeling that we sometimes get in our arches and heels. And there's a couple different tools that we can use to do that. Now, what is plantar fasciitis and what's actually going on with that? Well, like we've talked about throughout this series, is our body should be supple, have nice, smooth gliding surfaces and different layers. And your feet are no different. And with all the pounding that our feet takes, the fascia in our feet, those nice sliding filaments that wrap our tissues, they get mashed down and knotted. And start to adhere and stick, and they don't slide anymore. And sometimes we have trauma, which causes fraying in the tissue, and then that binds up, and some scar tissue can build around that. And that's not a good thing. We want that to be nice and flushed out and clean. So the best thing we can do for that is, if you do start getting that pain right in the arch of the foot or base of the heel, you probably need to start resting that, lay off the jumping and the dorsiflex or plantar flexion, where you're constantly putting the toes down and putting tension in the heels, up in the arches, and then rest it, and then start doing some fascial release work. And one of the best things you can do for that is going to be some gnarly looking ball, and we've got a couple of these at the gym, and some are bigger, some are smaller. Golf ball would work, a lacrosse ball would work, but I really like something that has this three-dimensional little knobbies on it. You're just going to simply put it underneath your foot and then add pressure, and then roll through just like you would any pressure wave technique with a foam roller. Roll that sucker out. When you get those really gnarly pain points, bear in as much as you can handle, and then take your body foot side to side. You can flex and release the toes, so flex the toes and release the toes, kind of do some active release on yourself. You can even find that trigger point, bear down on it, and then manually take your toes through range of motion. Remember the upstream, downstream effect with mobility. Your pain might be here. It could be caused by tension higher up in the foot, ligaments of the toes, up in the heel cords or calf itself. So all this stuff really needs to stay loose and flowing to help relieve pain in the heel. But most common approach for relieving plantar fasciitis is actually getting in there daily, sometimes a couple times a day, and digging out the knots that might be forming in your arches. And this would be one way to do it. Another tool you might use for plantar fasciitis is a Rowflex, and we've talked about this before as well. And you'd kind of do the same thing. You're going to use your trigger point section of this device, put it where the pain is, and then just roll through. And different techniques you can do here, and you can apply the same thing, and you can start to flex and bend the toes and manipulate the feet that way. Just do work on your feet, okay? If they hurt, spend some time on them. Invest some time back in yourself so that these things are working properly. And then, of course, everything we talked about last week, soaking in hot Epsom salt water would be great for this. Compression socks or sleeves is a really great thing for both of the issues we're talking about today, plantar fasciitis and Achilles tendinitis. And then they even make boots and splints that you can put on at night. If this is really nagging at you, it might help keep that tissue relaxed and stretched out throughout the night. Now, the other area we wanted to talk about today was Achilles tendinitis, and that's heel cord pain. And some of us get this right in the back of the heel cords, in the back of the foot, where this just tightens up, and then they get inflammation in there, tendinitis, hence inflammation in the tendons. And then this can be a real achy thing. It feels like somebody kind of gave you a slit right in the back of the Achilles. This is going to come down to massaging and stimulating blood flow in this area, because this is a really dry area and it's so far away from the heart. So how do I get blood there? This is where a mobility peanut is such a great tool. And I'm throwing a lot of different tools at you guys today, but I want you to see this stuff so you know what it is. We've got a couple of these here in the mobility bin at the gym. And what I love about the mobility peanut is it's essentially two lacrosse balls fused together, which creates a nice little cradle. And when you lay on the ground, this thing will be sitting right between your heel cords, and you can rock back and forth, get that nice massage on either side of the tendons in the heel cords. So really great one for you to use. Now you can use this anywhere, just like you can use a lacrosse ball anywhere. I'm sure there'll be other episodes where we bust out the mobility peanut, but for those of you who have never seen it, here it is. Kind of looks like a peanut. And if you don't have access to one of these, simply take 2 tennis balls or 2 lacrosse balls, side by side, wrap them with some athletic tape side to side, and then right down the middle, and it'll give you this nice little figure 8. Now, in last week's episode, not only did we start with the voodoo floss, but we finished with some monster bands. And that same technique of banded distraction and flossing the ankle is going to be the same thing you're going to want to do for Achilles tendonitis as well. Voodoo floss, and then massage it with your mobility peanut, and then put a band on it and do some flossing. So there you have it, a few different techniques and tools that you can use for plantar fasciitis, Achilles tendonitis, and then all those, that whole philosophy and strategy on how to take care of this stuff and how to stack your recovery protocol we talked about in last week's episode. So go check that out. Hopefully this helps you. And then we'll continue the series next week. We're going to move into some barbell smashing and start beating up on our hamstrings, because I'm sure I've been getting a lot of complaints from people that their hamstrings are tight. So I'm going to help you figure that out in next week's episode. Until then, keep training hard. Go get dirty. Aroo!